This conference will now be recorded.
Good afternoon, everyone. We will go ahead and get started with the Tuesday, June 9th advisory board meeting for phase one. Welcome, everyone. We'll start with roll call. Ed, Pace,
Here.
April,
Here.
Kevin Bailey, Deb,
Here.
William,
I'm here.
okay, and Lisa.
I'm here.
All right, so we have quorum. We have two members that are not here, not present, Ed Broles and Kevin Bailey. So we will now proceed with the review and approval of the last meeting minutes. Rachel?
Good afternoon, everybody. The last meeting was held on May 12th. The April 14th meeting minutes were reviewed and approved. Craig Benner presented an OCM update for phase one that started on page 1 and ended on page 2. There was a brief stakeholder outreach update on page 2. Janice Timmons presented a phase 1 and phase 2 financial review. The phase 1 project updates began on page 2 with an update from DL issuance, followed by Motors Maintenance and FR, My DMV Portal, SIDLIS and Citation Processing, Renewal Notification, and ended with an Informatica update on page 3. There was no communications update at the meeting. There were no questions or concerns from members present, and the meeting was adjourned at 1:35 p.m. And on page 4, you can see the items that were distributed in a meeting packet prior to the meeting.
Are there any comments or corrections from members? Is there a motion to approve?
This is Lisa, I'll move.
Thank you, Lisa. Is there a second?
This is Billy. I'll second.
I think I heard Billy first. Is that correct? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. We'll mark these as approved.
Thank you.
All right. I would like to move the stakeholder outreach update further down in the agenda after the project update. So next, if we could proceed with the OCM update from Craig.
You're on mute, Craig.
About now, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. Okay, so we'll start with the overall phase one summary. And the overall planning stage is in amber because of the tax collector engagement plan is late, and that is because we're waiting for the schedule. The overall plan is been approved all the way through to ESC, except for we do need to update the schedule in it. And so the other thing, a key risk and issue then is the Orion access identification of the roles, migration of users is one of the risks and issues that we're monitoring. And then the other key risk and issue is that if the business units are not aware of the new process changes prior to Orion training and rollout, then the Motors Modernization Phase 1 may not reach its full potential and efficiencies. So there could be frustration and an impact on customer service. Regarding the summary and highlights, we continue to meet with all the division leads regarding the readiness survey results. We've met with most of the division leads already on that. And the Change Champion Network Connect monthly meetings continue. The next one is scheduled for June 19th. And all the engagement meetings continue with all of the divisions. The task in progress, we're analyzing all the readiness assessment survey results and preparing key change interventions. And we're working with the OMM communications consultant, LDO and tax collector on a tax collector and stakeholder readiness assessment. And so we're also working on a post-pilot assessment right now too. So that's the overall summary. If we can move to slide 2. For motorist services, the key risk and issue is making sure we have the staff for go live. The tax collector plan is part of motorist services, and so that's why that's listed there. We continue to have the discussions on the Orion access, and then the project transition checklists for the different groups are part of the task in progress that we're working on. And the Bureau meeting checklists meetings continue on schedule. The SEU one-day training for the Change Champions, though, has been delayed due to the COVID-19 virtual environment because that would work best if we were face-to-face. So that particular training has been postponed. Next slide, please. For OED, we currently don't have any risks or issues identified at this time, but we continue to meet with each of the offices and areas. The engagement meetings with the directors and staff are going on. And then we've been participating with VAR and OMM regarding the Gobi Orion issues, and that's the hearings scheduled database system. Next slide. With DAS, the key risk and issue is in accounting, having the MyDMV portal and VO running simultaneously. We continue all of our periodic meetings and all of our engagement meetings. For FHP, we don't have any identified risks or issues, and we continue all of our meetings. We had set up a portal demo for BCII on June 2nd. That was postponed, but we have now rescheduled that for this Friday. For ISA, our knowledge transfer activities have continued, but we do see that as a risk or issue because of if that doesn't happen all the way through, then we want to make sure that that has been recognized. The developers are getting the training on the various new apps and systems, so that is also a summary and highlight. Those training sessions continue. We're also meeting with TAC and Motor Services on discussions for handling the calls. We continue monthly meetings with ISA leadership. We're also reviewing deliverable 63 and OCM is assisting on OMM and knowledge transfer sessions and setting up the additional sessions for batch jobs, FRMM, and MyDMV portal. And that is it for phase 1, I think. So any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, Janice, financial review.
Good afternoon. These financials are as of the end of May. We are in June, obviously, and we are at the end of this fiscal year, which is our last budgeted phase 1 year for the $2.3 million. Our actuals right now are 7.35, so we just have a little bit we're a little bit under. We have some bills that are coming in June. And I actually did this through June knowing what invoices will be coming in for the deliverables. So budget is 0.01% variance. Month to date is 0.08 with 644 remaining funds. Oh, I got the wrong slide up, but I can tell you what it is. Sorry about that. Right now we have 3 invoices remaining for fiscal year 2019-20, so we will expend all the funds for phase 1. For phase 2, our budget for this fiscal year is 13.7. We have signed the contracts for ECM and IFTA IRP, which were our big expense items for this fiscal year. We will be receiving those invoices during the month of June. So the only change for 1920 for phase 2 is we actually came in $1 million under budget for the IFTA IRP contract, which was great. And for ECM, we also came in under budget about $600,000. So the IFTA IRP are being paid out of gas tax funds, and those will be reverted back to the state, and the additional $600,000 will be reverted back to the state as well. But we have very little variance outside of that. Are there any questions on phase 1? Sorry, I know I'll go over both phases quickly. So.
Okay, no questions for Janice. We'll move on to project updates. I want to interject one project, or not really a project, one of the things that we're watching, and that is the cashiering. I think Lisa and I talked earlier this week. We want to make sure there's several projects and several stakeholders that have to be in place and ready to go in order for Motors modernization to proceed. And of course, one of those is the third-party cashiering vendors that support a lot of the cashiering out with the tax collector offices. So frequently we run a report. And recently, I had one of the developers, Jeff Marcy, run a report. And it looks like we're still have some concerns with one of the vendors that is working in Putnam County. Although, Lisa, we call Putnam and they have said that to see if there was anything that we could do to assist them. They said they had everything that they needed at this point, but I think they were just, like a lot of folks, trying to recover from COVID. We have also sent them videos in which they could use to also, go through transactions and offer to help in other ways. So we have to watch that. And then there's one other vendor on the list as well that I wasn't really sure was a cashier vendor, but that is probably something that, well, it looks like they're doing cashiering in Seminole. So we will have to work through all of that. Lisa briefly had a brief conversation with Joe yesterday, and that we'll need to probably put together something so we can just make sure the cashier vendors are getting what they need. Also, I've been informed that the department's working on an agreement that the cashier vendors will need to sign as we proceed with the cashiering solution and as they continue to test and going into production. So that is something else that we'll have to work through with the cashier vendors as well. Any questions?
Terrence, this is Lisa. If you already have a agreement with a vendor, let's say you have Grant Street that's also interacts with you already, will they also have to sign this additional agreement, or would that be covered with what they have?
Lisa, what I understand, this is a different agreement, that it's going to be a new agreement, and that is something that each vendor will be required to sign.
Okay.
But okay. All right. Any other questions surrounding cashiering? All right. Project updates. And I believe, Joe, you're always first.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Frank. So for the team profile, no real change. I mean, there's the developers move back and forth between phase 1 and phase 2 as needed, really trying to get those developers shifted to phase 2 as much as possible. From an enterprise testing perspective, we still have just the one performance test script to close up. That's the SIPs, and we had identified an issue with that's why it's not closed out. We're in the process of executing a fix that will address that performance concern, and then we'll wrap up the performance testing for deal issuance. Security testing for all the teams is in progress, and the security team is trying to work through all that testing and then get a report to us that will be able to address any deficiencies that they note. From a forecasted key dates perspective, the team is still in the middle of regression testing. We had hoped to finish up this past Friday, honestly, almost a month late from the original forecasted date. We have several remaining stories that we're working through, a few issues, a few bugs. The other thing that's slowing us down is, as part of this regression testing, all the teams are trying to maintain a production-like schedule at active batch, which means that some jobs are only scheduled to run once a month or once a week. So letting those jobs run organically sometimes cause a delay in getting through all that testing. We did begin CR210 on the 1st of June, and we're well underway on both the development for that as well as test case writing. So we are on target to get that CR work done by the beginning of July. We do have one issue that was raised since the last time we met. That's issue 164. And what this is related to is the deal issuance team for SIPs batch job is dependent on the renewal notification job running for DL notices, and then being able to create a mail-in file from those to run through SIPs. And there's been an issue with actually creating that file. We've found a workaround, and we're trying to work through that right now. For key implementation activities, the team continues to support vendors. We talked a little bit about third-party cash sharing, so any questions that come in for that, we help support those questions, as well as questions for penny vendor and batch transcript vendors. We are also continuing to work on getting our deployment scripts wrapped up so that we have kind of all of the tasks required for the team to deploy and validate the code once we have the date firmed up for moving to production. That's it for deal issuance, unless there's any specific questions for us.
Okay, no questions. Scott, you're next.
Thank you, Terrence. Sound check. Can you hear me fine? Thank you.
Yep.
The Motors Maintenance FR update, our team profile, our developers remain consistent. However, testers fluctuate between 1 and 2. This is in support of the other priorities that they're focusing on. Informatica is one of the items that, and we'll talk about that later. Developers are also being pulled too. But jumping into performance testing, last we reported, we had 23 test scripts developed and executed, or 24 total, excuse me, and we're down to 23. There was one that we thought we didn't have to do, and we retired it, the transcript for bulk and single. We brought it back, and it's still pending. The bulk transcript, we have a bug, or issue, excuse me, that's registered. That's blocking us from moving forward for the bulk side, but we have completed the individual transcript script, and we're going to run that this week. So knock on wood, we'll find resolution to the issue that we're about to talk about later in this update, and we'll be able to report the next time we talk that all these performance testing scripts are written, executed, and complete. Security testing, that's a misnomer. It's not started. They have started testing endpoints, but making sure that all the components related to Motors Maintenance FR, we're waiting for an update. I will make sure we have an update on this slide, or make sure that the program is reporting to you its status. Going into regression testing, we have Motors Maintenance and FR. When we talked about completing our last time, we were looking at the 8th of last month, and we were trending about 2 weeks behind. That's still the case. What we've faced with is we've got 2 functional areas within Motors Maintenance that are blocked. One of those issues that we're going to talk about, it's due to that. And then the other ones, they're just having bugs being returned or found in other areas within the functional area. And both Motors Maintenance and FR are impacted, like Joe indicated, that the performance, the production schedules, we are too bound by the deployment of stage, which is once a week. So our team normally kind of works quicker and has bugs returned, but we've got to work into that cadence, which has slowed us down. But we're working on the bugs for motorist maintenance, and hopefully we'll have them wrapped up this week. FR, the system evaluation unit team, is reporting that there are 2 functional areas still open. One of those are blocked. We'll get into the issue that's impacting that. We did, on your slide, you're probably not seeing CR210. We had 3 items that were identified to be done in that period to end July 2nd. We actually picked that up this last Thursday, Friday, started refining, and we are now in progress with that. Key issues that are actually impacting the largest part of our work: issue 34, the FR sanctioned panel performance issue. This area, we cannot go live with this having a delay for people to actually go into those panels and see these sanctions related information. We've identified there's 13 bugs that were registered against the panels that we're tracking to resolution. There's 2 other postings after, once you've gone to the panels, that we just raised last week to make sure that we've got everything possibly identified when somebody's trying to clear a sanction or add a sanction. It doesn't take forever or freeze the system. So that one is the issue 34 for motorist maintenance. For FR, excuse me. Issue 35, specialized resources for the bulk transcript, the PDF bug. I want to take a moment. This isn't just our project that gets impacted by this. We just found it because bulk transcripts takes a lot of information from a customer and tries to put it in a PDF. So I think it's like 1.5 meg. If anyone tries to generate a PDF larger than that, the system actually goes and appears to be frozen. So we're working on that one. That one's, I think, the longest pole in our tent to get it done and resolved. Key implementation activities. You see the final regression testing. We wanted to get it done by April 2020. We're working hard to get it done. That is critical for us to kind of transition into the change request. More importantly, transition into production go live. Our knowledge transfer, we had it targeted to complete at end of May. However, we actually extended into June. But I want to give a shout out to our 2 developers that, in addition to working bugs, John and Divya, they actually went ahead and completed all the 9 presentation material slide decks, if you will. We started to present those knowledge transfers to ISA operations staff today. I think it went well, but we'll wait to hear back from the people that attended. So we'll follow up and survey them. But I would like to give them a shout out and kudos because they've done a fantastic job. Key dependencies, we all know that additional wraps and CRs are going to delay our go live date. We're doing our best. Hopefully we're at the end of that kind of process with CR210, but we are working diligently on that. And then Informatica, we've shifted roles where we're now supporting. We've got some members of our team supporting on our testing and developer leads, supporting them to get them to where they need to be. So before we were waiting for them to complete bugs, now we're actually going in and making sure that the systems are working and tied correctly. So that's it for motorist maintenance FR. Is there any questions or comments? Thank you, everyone. Back to you, Terrence.
Andrea?
Good afternoon. I'm reporting on my DMV portal. Since the last time that we met, my team lost 1 tester to retirement, so we are definitely down 1 tester. Performance, we completed performance testing, but as we continue to demo and continue to test the systems, we look to improve the system always. Security testing is in progress, but we haven't heard of any major concerns. Regression testing was still in progress. We had a target date of June 5th, but we did not make that date. We're working on one issue, which is with the MV motor vehicle transactions, the e-commerce download. We have a couple of bugs that we need to fix in order to resolve that MV e-commerce issue. We did not receive we're trying to validate the credentials being printed from SIP, and we're waiting to receive those so that we can review the actual licenses and make sure the information is valid. The team is starting to work on CR 210. We will only have to test, my DMV portal will only test, so we'll wait for the other teams to complete development to begin our testing. Some key implementation activities, core dependency, any core dependency updates. We continue to work on our user guide documentation. We're continuing to support LDO on their customer service handouts, training development. We're finalizing regression testing with prints from SIP. We're working on our implementation dependency documentation. Like all the other teams, we're prepping to see, do our scripts and be prepared for when it's time to go live. We're also working on knowledge transfer sessions for our batch jobs. So those are in progress. Key assumptions, Informatica testing dependencies, and any other will come at this point. Any questions for my DMV portal? Okay. Moving on to Fitless citation processing. The team profile will remain at 3 testers, 3 developers, and 1 contractor. The performance testing we have completed. Security testing, as we've learned, has started for all teams. Regression testing, we only have 2 stories that remain. We're trying to work on printing the letters and stuff in the emails, and we're trying to work those issues out. No revised data when we will be complete. We want to run a big grouping of like 130 different types of letters. So we're waiting to do that. We're also working on Amber baseline testing with Fitless. The team is still in the first round. We have 3 drivers that we'll have remaining testing issues with, and we're working those bugs out. We added 1 risk, which addresses the turnaround time that we're having with AMBA. They're trying out a new tool at this time, and it's kind of slowed down our testing along with the issues that we are having with our bugs. We are also starting on the CR 210. The team is in progress for starting development of that CR. Key implementation activities is to continue AMBA structure testing for 5.3.3. We will also have to go into PDPS testing with AMBA. That will follow once we're complete with the baseline testing. Implementation dependency documentation, we're working on that as well. We're working on, like I said, the approved CR that we have, CR 210, as well as we're developing knowledge transfer for our batch jobs as well. Key dependencies and assumptions is we did receive our certification from AMBA on 5.3.2, but we need the approval of the Fitless baseline as well as the PDPS testing and any other wraps and CRs that will come at this time. We have 1 risk I already mentioned, the AMBA testing new tool, but we also have a risk with the vendor printing because of their production demands. The turnaround time on receiving our letters back is about 3 days. So that slowed us up just a little. Any questions for Fitless citation processing? Okay. We're into renewal notices. We had completed performance testing, but once we got into regression testing, we had some performance issues with renewal notices, and we're working on that. Those particular performance issues are, we have 2 scripts that we're blocked with those performance issues. The team is working to try to figure out, it's a problem with Planet Press. We're running out of space. And so they are working to determine what the space requirement is going to be, needs to be in order to run those monthly runs of over like 190,000 records a month. So those are being worked on, and we are reaching out to Planet Press to assist us with resolving those issues. The team has been able to run a sampling of the testing just to keep the testers being able to verify the letters, to review them, and to try to get them through the actual scan and markup process to send through STIP. But regression testing would not close until we're able to complete a month's run of the DL notices. The implementation activities, the finalized regression testing, to continue to work on performance with the email services, to continue to work on performance with the printing the notices. We're also working on implementation dependency documentation, prepping for go live, as well as developing our knowledge transfer for our batch jobs. Key dependencies and assumptions is printing stability for the database, the print manager, and Planet Press, and no CR changes for the DL notices. Any questions for renewal notices? Thank you.
Sherilyn, Informatica, and Janice. Yeah.
Okay. Good afternoon. For the Informatica update, just kind of a high-level overview of what we've been doing as far as team makeup goes. We've received approval from leadership to add additional resources to the team to help out with bug triaging and with testing, to help us to get better traction on fixing bugs and bug turnaround. So that is that's what we're in the process of doing now, is onboarding those additional resources. And we're just about done with the onboarding process. So we have QA resources that are helping us out with testing before the bugs get turned over to SEU. And so we have that intermediate level testing now going on with our QA group. And then we have 3 developers from service development who are helping with triaging new bugs to determine if they are Informatica bugs or wherever their analysis takes them. So that's what we have in terms of resources. So when you look at the team profile, you see more people now on the Informatica team. And as far as testers go, we still have our kind of standard group of testers that have been with testing with the application for some time. But we're gonna SEU is also working with additional testers from the business unit that are going to be helping out with testing as well. And all of that's in addition to the Plant Moran developers who are also helping us with some of the fixing some of the core bugs, but they're mostly working on non-core bugs at this time. So for the testing summary, for the core, there are 54 tables that have been started and 15 have been completed. Non-core, 74 started. None have been completed at this time, so the overall percent complete for core is 55% and 30% for non-core. The data seed validation testing is also in progress at this time, and Kevin has he has additional people who are also working with him now doing the validation, and he is or they are at this point 25% complete with their testing. The forecasted key dates at this time, we have deployed to stage all of the core mappings that we had to integrate the error handling solution into, and those have been deployed to stage. So at this point, we have all of the core and all of the non-core mappings currently in stage. So SEU is in process of testing all of the mappings for core and non-core. We're scheduled to complete the non-core by July 17th and performance testing by July 15th. And we still don't have at this time the revised dates for production deployment. That's a change request that is still pending, but we just don't have those dates at this time. Those are our key risks and issues at this time. We are trying to work with the other developers in OMM and service development to, whenever there are questions that we have to rely on other developers for technical information or requirements clarification. And so we're trying to be respectful of their time and notify all of the project managers whenever we have questions that we need to ask. For issue 135, that's just a recap of our status, and again, we don't have our revised dates yet for production deployment. So our key Informatica activities are the testing that's being done by SEU and ISA, the data seed validation testing, and bug fixes that are going on for all of the mappings, core and non-core. And our key dependencies and assumptions, Natasha is working on the testing for ISA, and it's going to be critical that that she is able to dedicate most of her time to Informatica testing uninterrupted. And Kevin Gray is also working on the data seeding validation, and so he's also a key dependency, and also developer support is going to be important for us as well as we continue to work on resolving all of the issues and all of the bugs that we have so far for Informatica. Are there any questions?
Yes, this is Lisa. Could I get a copy of this slide?
Yes. Janice, do you want me to send it to Lisa, or do you want to send it?
I can send it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
So
Okay, thank you.
as you just heard Sherilyn's update and the other project updates, and certainly there's some other things we're trying to clear up within the team as well. Informatica is a very important part of that, and you heard the dates that Sherilyn gave as far as some of the efforts that the Informatica team is working on that will put us beyond the intended implementation date. So as a result, we are going to have to change our implementation date. As you heard Sherilyn say, yeah, that they're working on getting a revised date. We cannot go live without it. And during this time, there are other parts of the application that are non-Informatica things that we need to make sure are working correctly as well. We're going to continue performance testing. We're doing continuing testing of the software, clearing up bugs. So this time in which the Informatica team is moving forward to make sure everything is stable, we need to make sure the other parts of the application are stable as well, and not to, in my opinion, to add any type of new functionality, but to make sure what we have is stable, and give that team the time that they need to make sure everything is going to be stable with Informatica, because that's very important as we move forward. As you know, Informatica is the tool set that is used to keep our old database and new database in sync. We don't want a situation in which you know, we upgrade offices and someone comes into an office that has the new Orion system, and then they go to an office that has the old DO issuance system and they can't perform their transaction. We don't need those type of issues for our customers. We have looked at this several times and tried to think of ways that we possibly could go live without it, and it's simply is not possible. So we're working on a communication, either going out today or tomorrow to stakeholders to let them know. We've started phone calls with the tax collector leadership to let them know as well. And once we have talked to all of the tax collector leadership, then we'll send out an email to all the tax collectors and, of course, be prepared to answer any questions or whatever they may have. Some of the questions that I've received already on some of those calls is, what about the frivolous refresh? As you know, we're refreshing the equipment around the state in the tax collector offices. That effort was put on hold like everything else that required travel when, you know, with COVID-19. That team has started again. The plan is still to finish the state offices first, because that's where we want to implement Motors Mod first. So as soon as we have finished the other teams and the Informatica has finished as well, we're going to implement in our state offices first prior to doing any tax collector offices. And once we are assured that things are stable there, then move on to the tax collector offices. We are aware with this change that this could possibly put us even closer into the November-December timeframe, in which we know is not a good time for the tax collector. So we would have to work around that. And during the phone calls, Robert Kanak and I have assured them that we would be able to do that. We have talked with the insurance companies as well. They understand their requirement was they get at least a 60-day notice prior to implementation, and I don't think that is unreasonable, and that's something we should be able to honor as well. So it's just going to be important as we move forward to make sure that we are communicating with all the stakeholders and giving them updates. We don't want a situation where, oh, guess what, next month we're implementing. We want to give as much time as possible, as much notice as possible, and making sure that we have a good product when it is time to go into production. As I mentioned, still going to proceed with performance testing. We have some performance testing coming up either at the end of the month, beginning of next. We're actually going to go on site again and have people in some of the South Florida offices, I've mentioned this before, stay late and simulate transactions and have them performing real transactions as well, or test transactions. Have folks there staying late doing test transactions as well. So we just want to be prepared. And as soon as we have an implementation date, we're going to pass that along to all of our stakeholders. And of course, with the tax collector, because they have the actual systems in the office, make sure they're updated along the way, and all stakeholders as we move forward. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Terrence, this is Lisa.
Okay. Hey, Lisa.
I have one office that has not been refreshed. And
okay.
I promised you that I would go with you when we went. And do I need to get that moved up on the schedule, because it's not until like the tail end?
I will talk to, yes, if you could talk to someone, and I will make sure I talk to the project manager and talk to April and Boyd about it as well, because if that's the office that you want to go when we implement state offices, we would need to get that changed.
Lisa, this is April. Which office is it?
It's Agency 1. I don't know the H number.
Okay.
Titusville. I only have one that hasn't been refreshed.
Okay.
But I'm willing to bring several on board with you guys when we go live. And they would be one that I would want to go with, because they're so close to my main office and everything.
Okay. We'll follow up.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions for me?
This is Lisa again. Sorry, and you know I'm a pest, Terrence. I love you. The tax collectors are going to go ahead with their education forum. It begins the very tail end of August into September, and you know you've always come and had that room. Did you want to do that again, or do you want to mull on that a while and see what?
Yeah, I just need to get final approval from Ms. Rhodes, and then I can get back with you.
All right. Well, you know how
On
much
that and
they
make
love
sure.
that.
Right, right. But I will make sure I talk to her about that and make sure, there's nothing, and
Do you
so
need me to
so you
send you
so
the dates?
I think you gave it to me already. I think it's the 30th through the 3rd. Is that right?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
And this is so you all are proceeding, and you would want to have the room and everything again, just like previous years, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Jessica, can you update everyone on Orange County? I know, like we mentioned, there have been a few. We talked about cashiering, and we've reached out to folks and tried to proceed with some of the sandbox review so they could help with cashiering and all of that. We've been working with Orange County. We want to bring everyone up to speed of where we are, because I think you just got an email from them right before this.
Yes. So Orange County reached out to us. They were one of the counties that we wanted to give an overview to before they started doing their third-party cashiering. Seems like they've already kind of started some of the other stuff that they were planning on doing with their party, but in the meantime, because we can't travel, what we've been doing is trying to set up a remote session to go over all of the functionality in Orion. We, for the past couple weeks, have been working with Orange County's IT to set up their stations, the workstations that they're going to be using. We have deployed the Orion Sandbox environment to 5 stations, and we're going to be reviewing those and making sure that they're working tomorrow afternoon. And then next week, Monday and Tuesday, we'll be having remote sessions to give them a demo in the morning with 5 people per session. And then we'll talk about maybe having some more if they needed some more.
And Lisa, this is one of the vendors that's on the list that hasn't had any activity yet, but I see also on my list here and on my board here that Orange County uses this particular vendor as well. So hopefully we'll have some movement there. And I'm late. I know you had requested this, and I didn't send it to you, so I will send you this list as well, so you'll have it.
Okay.
Any other Coral? Do we have a communications update?
No, sir.
Okay. Any other questions related to phase 1? All right. Thank you all. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.